Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening.
Uh, can I start sharing?
Yes, sir.
I'm not able to share. Share the screen.
There is a green button. Oh, yes.
I know, but there is some issue.
आपका डेस्कटॉप पे दिख गया.
Arya?
Yes, sir.
Choosing oral anti-diabetic agents. Is it visible now?
Yes,
Right.
yes. Nicely visible.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Ashutosh. And very good evening to my batchmate, Dr. S.N. Rai, Dr. Chandani as well. Now, topic for today's discussion given to me is choosing oral anti-diabetic agents in other oral anti-diabetic agents in era of SGLT2 inhibitors. So I know that in every conference, there are talks and talks about SGLT2 inhibitor, but little interest should be there in what other anti-diabetic drugs can do to a patients with type 2 diabetes. So to begin with, my disclosures for today's presentation are nil. I swear in the name of God that the presentation will only have scientific facts based on clinical trials and no personal whims, no non-scientific stuff. So what I'm going to do within next 20-25 minutes is SGLT2 inhibitors. There is undoubted evidence that they have cardiorenal protection. What are the other available oral anti-diabetic agents? What are the benefits of these oral anti-diabetic agents? And I'll say that all SGLT2 inhibitors available in the market, and there are some which are not yet available, are not same. And then I'll end with economy of oral anti-diabetic agent. There is always a commercial aspect to every drug attached. This I know everybody has seen umpteen number of time. ADA standard of care 2021 guidance. It says that first line of therapy should be metformin plus, and I emphasize, comprehensive lifestyle management and good physical activity. There should not be any doubt about it. And if there are indicators of high risk or established atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease or CKD or heart failure, the guidelines clearly say that one should use either a GLP-1 receptor agonist or SGLT2 inhibitors with clear-cut evidence of benefiting the given condition. That is very, very important. SGLT2 inhibitors or GLP-1 receptor agonist only with proven cardiovascular benefits should be used. It clearly says SGLT2 inhibitor with evidence of reducing heart failure and or CKD progression in CVOT if eGFR is adequate. So in type 2 diabetics with established cardiorenal disease like atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease or heart failure or chronic kidney disease, or even in the high risk individuals, one must use organ protecting agents to begin with. That is even evident from ACE guideline also. It clearly says that with A1C of less than 7.5, entry A1C of less than 7.5, metformin is the preferred first-line therapy. And once you are done with metformin, either use GLP-1 receptor agonist or SGLT2 inhibitors, and these are in order of preference. So we know GLP-1 receptor agonist right now are injectable. I'm not going into detail, but everybody knows that there are oral GLP-1 receptor agonists coming up in India. Maybe end of 2021, we'll see Rybelsus also oral available in India. So prescribing oral anti-diabetic agent is a balancing act for physicians, for diabetologists, for all those who practice internal medicine. The balance should be between science and art of medicine, and balance should be between science of medicine and commerce of medicines. What are the 10 commandments in management of type 2 diabetes? Here I have mentioned. First and foremost, everyone should emphasize but fails to do so because of various reasons, paucity of time, nobody pays for it, nobody wants to listen about it, is lifestyle modification. Weight control, physical activity, good sleep. Second being avoid hypoglycemia. Third, avoid weight gain. Fourth, all glycemic targets it should not be universal guideline for all type 2 diabetics. They should be individualized. Optimal A1C is less than 6.5 or as close to normal. But remember, if it should be safe and achievable. Don't stretch the string very hard. You don't need to keep everybody less than 6.5 or near 6.5. It may be 7, it may be 7.5, it may be even 8 for a patient who has got so many comorbidities. The choice of therapy are patient-centric, and they should be based on A1C at presentation and shared decision-making. Nobody ever tells patient कि आपके लिए ये दवा फायदेमंद है, हो सकता है थोड़ी महंगी हो, but I feel that it should be continued. That should be shared with the patient. The choice of therapy should reflect atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, CHF, and renal status that I have already mentioned in all the guidelines that is there. The comorbidity must be managed for comprehensive care. One should get to goal as soon as possible, adjust at less than 3 months until at goal. So don't linger on the process of giving 2 agents or maybe adding another agent. The choice of therapy must include ease of use and affordability. I always say the treatment should be for ease, not for the making the life of patient difficult. So an ideal oral diabetic agent should be efficacious, yes. Cardiorenal benefits should be seen in this era. Low risk of hypoglycemia, low risk of weight gain, and economy of course is very, very important for Indian patients. यहाँ तो कुछ health के लिए budget ही नहीं होता patient के पास. And if you write a drug which is costly to be continued for indefinite period of time, the patient may not follow it as it should be. So effect of glucose lowering therapy on various cardiometabolic risk factors. And here I have taken all the possible oral anti-diabetic agents in 2021. Metformin, SGLT2 inhibitor, DPP4 inhibitor, pioglitazone and sulfonylurea. And on another axis, you can see the glycemic control, hypoglycemia, weight loss, blood pressure reduction, and lipid profile. You can clearly see that SGLT2 inhibitors stand out as compared to other oral agents. Metformin, good glycemic control, hypoglycemia risk is low, weight loss plus minus. There may be a loss of 1 to 2 kg in most of the patients. While SGLT2 inhibitor, you can see tick in the 4 out of 5 columns. Lipid profile, yes. LDL in some trials may be increased even, but that is again a questionable. DPP4 inhibitors are good in 2 parameters, glycemic control and hypoglycemia low risk. Pioglitazone is a very good group of drug, which I always say has been underused because of various reasons. Good glycemic control, low risk of hypoglycemia, there is a weight gain, blood pressure reduction can be there, and lipid profile improvement is there. Sulfonylurea are good for glycemic control. What is the efficacy of various intervention? Lifestyle modification is the best, 1 to 2%. There is trial, direct trial, which clearly says that early lifestyle intervention in the course of type 2 diabetes can even reverse diabetes and all the medication can be stopped. Metformin, A1C reduction of 1.5%. Sulfonylurea, again 1.5%. Glitazone, 0.5 to 1.4%. SGLT2 inhibitor, again 0.5 to 1.5. And DPP4 inhibitor are 0.5 to 1%. So this we must know once we are giving a group of drug to a patient, that how much A1C reduction maximum can be done by this drug that we are using. If you compare the various oral anti-diabetic agents like sulfonylurea, TZD, DPP4 inhibitor, and SGLT2 inhibitor, sulfonylurea have got very good glycemic efficacy, rapid reduction of blood sugar and HbA1c. Hypo risk is of course moderate, weight can be increased, moderate gain is there, durability is question mark. And recent trials have shown that they are fairly durable, and the cost, everybody knows they are low. TZD have got good glycemic efficacy, low hypo risk. There is weight gain, which is a negative thing. Adverse events are fluid retention, and cost is again low. DPP4 inhibitor, moderate efficacy, low hypo risk, weight neutral. There can be urticaria, and pancreatitis has been questioned always. I have seen pancreatitis in many of my patients, not many, few of my patients who have been on various DPP4 inhibitors. The cost may be high or low depending upon the agent used. We know that vildagliptin has gone off patent, and there is teneligliptin with low cost already available. SGLT2 inhibitor have got good moderate degree of glycemic efficacy, low hypoglycemia risk. There is a weight loss. The possibility of GTI, UTI, and UDK, euglycemic diabetic ketoacidosis should be kept in mind. In the cost, again, we have certain drugs which are SGLT2 inhibitor, but lesser cost. They are not always of high cost. And recently, we have dapagliflozin also, which is available by various generic brands also. So coming to DPP4 inhibitor, the simplified management of type 2 diabetes. They have really done wonders during last 10 to 15 years. Management of hypoglycemia, 2018 consensus report by ADA, and it says that DPP-4 inhibitor, low risk of hypoglycemia, they are weight neutral, the cardiovascular safety is a question mark. Safety profile is similar to placebo so far as hypoglycemia is concerned. Few interactions with co-medication, no timings or dosing issue with linagliptin, especially because depending upon EGFR, you need not to reduce the dose. With the other DPP-4 inhibitor, you might need to reduce the dose depending upon EGFR, and compliance is very good. You give it and you forget about it to your patient. DPP-4 inhibitors, evidence of safety across cardiorenal continuum. And these all data are based on CV outcome trials only. Vildagliptin, sexagliptin, teneligliptin, sitagliptin, and linagliptin. CV risk, heart failure, and kidney disease. You can clearly see that green is the signal to go about it. Sitagliptin and linagliptin in all the three conditions are safe, while vildagliptin, although being used for decades, is still uncertain because US FDA has not granted permission for it. And teneligliptin is uncertain, and safety signal in high CV risk. Coming to pioglitazone, another very good drug. It has got organ protection effect. The one very good effect of pioglitazone, there is 47% reduction of secondary stroke in patients with previous stroke. Probably the only drug, oral drug, other than GLP-1 receptor agonist, which reduces second episode of stroke in patients with previous stroke in PROACTIVE study. In Chicago study, reduction of carotid intima media thickness. In PROACTIVE, 28% reduction of reinfarction, 37% reduction of acute coronary syndrome after previous MI in PROACTIVE study. In PERISCOPE study, stops the progression of coronary atherosclerosis. There is reduction of MI, stroke, and death in patients with CKD in PROACTIVE study. So it is not a toxic drug in reduced EGFR also. There is reduction of microalbuminuria with the use of pioglitazone in QUARTET study. There is 51% reduction of mortality in patients on hemodialysis, USA study. And this is all from Diabetes Care 2013. Reduction of inflammation and necrosis in NASH, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. Very good drug if used early in the course of disease. There is 50% reduction in the risk of hepatocellular carcinoma also. There is significant improvement in NASH over a period of 3 years. You can clearly see whether it is steatosis, inflammation, ballooning, fibrosis also, it is all reduced by the use of pioglitazone, and the P is very, very significant. What about sulfonylurea? Carolina is one trial where linagliptin was non-inferior to glimepiride, or I'll say glimepiride was non-inferior to linagliptin for 3-point MACE. You can clearly see both the lines are overlapping, whether it is linagliptin or glimepiride. Hazard ratio is 0.98. Advanced trial showed us, this is again from Diabetes Care 2008, NEJM also, November 2009. the 5 years data with glyclazide clearly showed that intensive treatment with glyclazide is effective in reduction of microvascular complication, retinopathy, especially nephropathy, new or worsening of nephropathy. Even the ADVANCE ON study showed that renal protection sustained even after 10 years with glyclazide-based intensive treatment. So end-stage renal disease like dialysis or transplantation is reduced by 46%, even in follow-up after 5 years of ADVANCE study, which is named as ADVANCE ON with glyclazide. Again, STENO-2 trial with glyclazide, although it was a multifactorial intervention where hypertension was also taken care with 21.2 years of follow-up, more than 7.9 years of increased lifespan with the use of glyclazide. There is legacy effect at 8.1 years free of any cardiovascular event that is seen in STENO-2 trial. I'll say that all SGLT2 inhibitors are not same. SGLT2 inhibitor like remogliflozin and ertugliflozin are yet to show or are not able to show organ benefit like empagliflozin, canagliflozin, and dapagliflozin. Based on findings of Verti's CV outcome trials on ertugliflozin, which was done to prove the cardiovascular outcomes with ertugliflozin by MSD, announced by MSD Pfizer, it is clear that ertugliflozin was not able to show superiority in various primary endpoints, like reduction of 3-point MACE. What is surprising that patient population was very high risk, and it was similar to one which was seen in EMPA-REG outcome, yet the superiority was not seen with ertugliflozin. Remogliflozin, we all know, our own Indian brand, does not have any CV outcome trials. Other SGLT2 inhibitors are present in Japan only and do not have CV outcome trials. So I'll say that all kids born to the same parents are not same. सभी भाई एक जैसे नहीं होते. So guidelines for primary health care in low resource setting that we always have. Metformin can be used as a first line oral anti-diabetic agents. Although the quality of evidence is low and strength of recommendation is strong, because there is some evidence and it is relatively economical also. Give a sulfonylurea to a patient who have contraindication to metformin or in whom metformin does not improve glycemic control, although the quality of evidence is low and strength of recommendation is strong. Now, I told you I'll be dealing with economy, the monthly cost in rupees. Here you can see the choice class of oral anti-diabetic agents. What are the agents? Whether it is monotherapy or combination with metformin. Biguanides and sulfonylurea are relatively economical. Monthly cost in rupees is mentioned there. DPP-4 inhibitors are relatively costly. If you go for sitagliptin, linagliptin, sexagliptin, teneligliptin and vildagliptin are recently have become economical. Looking at SGLT2 inhibitor, empagliflozin, canagliflozin are costly, while DAPA has gone off patent. Generic brands are available, although cost here shown is higher, Remo is comparatively economical. So we need to take care of this economy aspect also whenever we choose an agent for our patient. Now, a word about prescription of oral anti-diabetic agents in India. This is a prescription audit published in Indian Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism, 2019, not very old. Metformin, sulfonylurea, and DPP-4 inhibitor seem to be cornerstone in India, in Indian diabetic prescription across the duration of diabetes. Metformin, sulfonylurea, DPP-4 inhibitors. Total Indian prescriptions, metformin account for 90.82%, sulfonylurea 48.86%, DPP-4 inhibitor 46.15%, and SGLT2 inhibitor 13.65%. So this is a relatively recent audit of Indian prescriptions. And with that, I'd like to say thank you to all